Welcome, everybody. It's February 9th at 3 p.m. and this is the recording of the Complete Streets Advisory Council. I'm Emily Flynn in this position today for Greg Krupp, who's not able to be here today. I don't have the official blurb in front of me, but I'm going to say something to the effect of like, anyone who acts inappropriately, I have the right to take them off this Zoom call today. I think everything else is we sort of know at this point. Other than that, Bob, I'm going to hand it off to you to lead this meeting.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to deputize David Stas to act in the stead of Brian until he gets here, because I know they share many things, including a like approach to complete streets and jobs. So,
thank you. I'll try to do Brian proud.
Okay, good. We'll report back to him. The first.
Hell.
I don't know. Can you hear us? I just heard you say so. Say something. No? I don't know if Lynn can hear us or not.
Yeah, it feels like Lynn can't hear us.
Right.
You can, Lynn, you can, oh, she can't hear me.
It's not my computer.
I can hear you. Let's try this.
So I just put in the chat to her that she can try the public link and I can try to promote her.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know what else to do for her.
Okay.
So
give that a try and we'll see. In the meantime, I'll talk a little bit about about some housekeeping stuff. After much discussion with Greg today, actually it wasn't much, but it was a little. I've decided, if everybody is shares this view, not to take minutes any longer. The state government has determined that if a meeting is recorded, there's no reason to record by hand the activities of the meeting. And we've moved to that in a couple other committees that I'm on. And I think a better way to spend our time is to document the decisions and the actions in writing, but the normal meeting flow can rely upon the recording, which is probably a better representation than notes anyway. So if everybody, all the council members are in agreement with that approach, I'm going to propose that we adopt that approach and give Greg a break.
Second. Bob, was that a formal motion that you were making, or do you need a motion made?
Well, John seconded. Why don't you make the motion, Claudette, and we'll vote on it.
Okay, I move that we go to recorded sessions that don't require minute taking unless there is an action item of which there will be a vote.
And John seconded. And any discussion?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay, so on that note, then I'll propose that we vote on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand, indicate such. Anybody opposed? Any abstainers? So we'll consider that our new policy, and we'll document that as an action that we took today. So that's good. And Greg will be very happy, even though he makes a great set of minutes.
Before you move on, could I ask that we do a round of introductions? I see there's a couple,
Absolutely.
like I think maybe this is Barb. Is this Barbara's first meeting? And Kristen, I think, is new to this group. I'd just like to suggest that.
That would be great. So I'll go around. I'll start. I'm Bob Dennison. I'm the chair of the Complete Streets Advisory Council, and I don't know what else. That's all I need to say, I suppose, at this point. John
Gross Poland. I've been on the council for a long time, lost track of how long. I'm also heavily involved with the development and maintenance of rail trails in the area. And I'm a veteran long distance bicycle tourist. And this week I've been playing chainsaw games. And I just wandered into the house shortly before the meeting, didn't even get a chance to shower or change. Still got chips all over me, so.
That's good. That's a rust. I probably should expand. I didn't expand as much as I probably should have, and that's rude of me. I am, as the chair of Complete Streets, I'm a retired civil engineer. I spent a number of years, many years in government and in transportation, and live in Kingston and have been here for 35 years. Now, Claudette.
Hi, I'm Claudette Ford, and I am a retired public works director. My most recent position was Berkeley, California. Prior to that, Oakland, California. Prior to that, New Haven, Connecticut. I am also the now, I guess I won't say retired, but former chair for Resource Center for Accessible Living. I am legally blind and am very much interested in pedestrian and accessible issues for the disabled.
Brian, you can, I mean, David, you can be Brian for a minute. Explain who you are and we'll talk.
Hi, I'm David Stoss. I work for the Ulster County Transportation Council, and I'm here in Brian's stead for right now. And we deal a lot with federal aid process and facilitating that between local municipalities.
And you're always welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Barbara Hill.
Hi, I'm Barbara Hill, Alderwoman, Ward 1, Kingston Common Council. I've been duly appointed to by Andrea Schott, President of the Council, to keep an eye on you all.
Well,
And I have like 30, I don't know, too many years in public service, degree in public, a couple degrees in public administration. My main interest has been mental health, behavioral health. But I got engrossed in the rezoning charrette because I like maps, and, you know, it was like Legos, you know? So then I thought, oh, what advisory committees are similar? So it was Complete Streets. And I also have an affinity for Live Well Kingston, which Emily puts together. So maybe I'm stalking Emily, I'm not sure. But she is a resident. She is a constituent. There you have it.
well,
Me too.
yeah, welcome. I think you'll you picked a good council. It's a good council. Kristen Kessler.
Yeah, of course. Kristen Kessler. I am new project manager in Emily's department, which is super exciting. I started in December, so I've been here for about 2 months now. I am primarily working on a grant that's called Creating Healthy Schools and Communities. So this is a 5-year grant that the city received last year. That's a number of different there's a number of different strategies that are a part of it to essentially change policy systems and environments to help make the healthy choice the easy choice in the city of Kingston. And so part of that, I'm a dietitian, that's my background. So part of it is nutrition and food stuff. And then part of it is something they call physical activity access, or connecting routes to everyday destinations. So essentially active transportation stuff, which makes sense to learn more about the Complete Streets in Kingston. I'm actually a part of the Complete Streets Committee in Woodstock. So I live in Woodstock. So I joined that committee last summer. So it was before I started the job, which was really interesting. And then I started here, and I feel like it's just, after, you know, over a decade in nutrition and food, this has opened up like a whole new world in health and wellness to me, which is really fun and interesting. So yes, I'm excited to just be a part of this and to learn more.
Well, welcome. It's great to have you. Transportation is, as I tell Claudette all the time, transportation is the center of everything. It's always all about transportation. Helen Atkinson. She's laughing.
Hi, sorry, I've been off camera. Hi, I'm here as liaison from the Kingston Conservation Advisory Council. I'm a logistics and transportation journalist, and I live in Uptown Kingston, and I'm very interested in what you guys are doing.
Well, welcome. That's good to have you back. You've been here before. That's good. And transportation as well. Lynn, can you hear us, Lynn Woods? Oh, but now I can't hear you. You have to unmute.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that. I had my wrong computer. I really apologize.
No problem.
I live in Kingston. I've been in Kingston 25 years. I'm a journalist. Some of you might have read my articles. I've sent a bunch of letters to you about various issues I'm concerned about. And I'm here because I was hoping to get a few words in about the Complete Streets project on Franklin Street, as well as make some comments about Henry Street.
EJ Michelle, that's Elizabeth though, right? If I remember correctly from before. Can you introduce yourself?
If she's not here, she sent me a text saying that she got delayed and will be joining the meeting. She's working full time, so hopefully she'll be checking in.
It's here.
Okay,
you're there.
but she's
Okay.
here. Yep.
Sorry,
She's there.
sorry.
Okay.
Right. So hi, guys. Yes, I am also wanting to speak about the Franklin Street project. And sorry, work is very crazy today and I'm eating some cheese and crackers. I didn't have time for lunch. So I'm going to mute myself so you don't have to see me eat cheese and crackers. I mean, take the video off and then I'll come back on when it's time to speak.
Okay, great. All right. So welcome
Bob,
to everyone.
Bob,
Yes.
I didn't get to go.
Oh,
so
Emily.
I think
Forgot
you all,
Emily.
you may all know me, but I'm the Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston. And I am the project manager for the Pedestrian and Bicycle Master Plan and the Transportation Education Campaign. I do other things, but that's it for this group right now. Thanks.
I apologize. I thought everybody knows Emily, but you're right. It was an oversight on my part. So I apologize. So welcome guests, public comment period. This is where we do our public comment period. Lynn has already written ahead and said that she would like to say a few things. We try to limit them to 5 minutes so that everybody has a chance to talk who wants to. So on that note, take it away, Lynn.
Thank you. Well, I know that you guys are aware of the Complete Streets project on Franklin Street. I actually checked the meeting in, I think, 2020 that I sat in on. And I wanted to share some concerns I had because the preliminary plan for both Franklin Street and the Henry Street Safe Routes to School routes, which are both sidewalk replacement plans, show that all the existing trees were going to be removed. Now, I've been in touch with Greg Krupp, who is the project manager. And by the way, Greg has been fantastic. He actually responds. So he sent me an email this afternoon that changes the picture a little bit, letting me know that some of the trees will be saved on Franklin and some on Henry. But I wanted to bring up the fact that I don't understand why in the initial phases of these grants, you're even considering taking out all the existing trees, which on Franklin Street, the existing conditions report by the contractor, which I've looked at, notes are almost all healthy. And it's also called a Climate Smart grant. It's a Climate Smart community project from DEC. And in the project application, the grant application, which I looked at, it never mentions removing trees. It talks about how this is going to reduce emissions. And the fact that you would even consider removing trees, I think is pretty unacceptable considering we have a 2018 tree inventory. And if you look at that tree inventory, which I'm going to quote from you a couple things, it says specifically that, hang on a second, that was also funded by a DEC grant, and it prioritizes saving existing trees. It states, quote, trees, unlike other infrastructure, perform better and gain value over time. Older, more mature trees provide the most benefit to the community. The city must promote tree preservation and proactive tree care to ensure older trees survive as long as possible. And you may be aware that researchers have determined that most tree species do not sequester significant amounts of CO2 until they're at least 50 years old. So if we're talking about taking out, it's 14 trees total in Franklin, and more than half of those are very mature trees. And the tree inventory actually puts a monetary value on the worth of a large tree. I think it's like $25,000. And they also talk about energy conservation in terms of less air conditioning, air pollution mitigation, carbon sequestration, and aesthetic benefits, which I think are very important. I live a block away from Franklin Street, and I'm constantly walking on that block between Pine and Fair because of the beautiful trees on either side of the street. So the tree inventory really puts a monetary value on this, and it suggests a tree management program, which I don't think we have done yet as a city. But also the trees that they want to remove, as far as I know, include a sycamore, a red maple, locust. I've looked at them. Those are native species. And as a resident of Midtown on Pine Street, I can tell you that there's more bird life than I ever dreamed of. I'm putting in pollinator gardens. I'm putting in redwood trees. If a complete streets project comes on my street, those would probably be removed. So I just wanted to alert you when you're looking at transportation. I think trees are very important, and we've lost a lot of them in Kingston. A massive oak tree came down in Clinton. I don't know if the person went to the tree commission, but we've had a lot of tree damage. And by the way, with this recent ice storm, most of those trees in Franklin held up pretty well. So I just wanted to alert you to that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Greg Krupp told me that the bluestone that I know is talked about at your meeting, that's not in the historic district. It's between Pine and Clinton. He says that the city is seriously considering preserving it, which is fantastic news. I didn't know that was going to happen. So that sounds great, because as you know, we also have a bluestone report, our bluestone inventory from 2013 that talks about the value of bluestone. And I also want to mention one other thing, which is the 9-foot right of way, which I don't know if you've become aware of, but it shocked a lot of people to find out that the city right of way, at least in this neighborhood, extends from the curb 9 feet beyond the sidewalk into people's property. So a lot of like shrubbery, fences are being removed. In fact, I learned about this recent resolution the common council is about to vote on, basically saying the Franklin Street project does not require a full environmental impact study. I found out that the project was being finalized because a neighbor was getting a letter talking about the removal of her redwood trees. So this is going to be a huge problem for any complete streets program, at least in Midtown, where the houses are very close to the sidewalk. The sidewalks are not that wide. It's mostly a residential street. And I know to be ADA compliant, Summer Smith informed me in December that they can actually decrease the width of the sidewalk to 4 feet with bump outs every 200 feet, which I guess is what they're considering for Franklin if they're going to preserve that bluestone. But if you're going to put in like 6 feet wide sidewalks on Henry, that makes no sense. I mean, the street is like, these are residential streets, and the sidewalks vary in width according to the buildings. I mean, this is part of a very historic infrastructure dating from the 1880s. When I met Dover Cole, our new planning consultants who are putting together a form-based code, they commented, one of the principals, I spent a lot of time with them going on walking tours, and he said, you have so much intact in Kingston, don't ruin it. You know, the scale of the walkability of your streets, the front porches, you know, the relationship of the houses to each other in the street is very historic, even though we're not in a historic district, most of Midtown. We should be. So I just wanted to alert you that there's a lot of concerns. And on Henry Street with that project, Summer Smith told me they're going to be damaging a lot of the bluestone infrastructure next to the sidewalk, which includes bluestone steps. I mean, there's an entire block that's amazing with retaining walls, edging, bluestone steps practically to every property. And she said that widening to 6 feet is going to damage it. Now, Greg told me they're actually rethinking that plan. The last thing I want to mention, I know I'm running out of time and I don't want to hog the meeting, is that there was not a good public process for this, which maybe EJ could talk about. The complete streets DOT requirements say that, I wrote it down here, but there has to be a robust planning process that an outreach to the public. Here it says, I'll quote, the project should be a demonstration of exemplary outreach and education components, including robust interaction with community residents, businesses, elected officials, and others. That didn't happen with either of these projects. And there still is there was no plan posted for Henry Street. The public never got to weigh in on it. There was one public meeting for Franklin. There was supposed to be another public meeting before the final. Greg said they're considering it, but a lot of people didn't even know about this. So if we're going to talk about how great all this is, I think you need to get more input from residents, especially if you're going to go into their property, which in the case of this Franklin Street and Henry Street projects, you will. And I know if you were doing a complete streets project on Pine Street, the 9-foot runaway, that would take away my front steps, my pollinator garden. So this is a huge issue. So please be aware that you're dealing with historic infrastructure, and we really need to make an effort to preserve our trees. To me, that's one of the most important things we can do if we're going to call ourselves a climate smart community. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Good. It's always an interesting trade-off between access for people with disabilities and bluestone. So I'm glad to hear that Greg and the designers are moving forward and evolving and talking to people and looking at revising their plans. That's exactly what they should be doing at this stage in the project.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
expectation is that I was the chief engineer at New York State Department of Transportation. So I'm familiar with their public requirements and their process.
Mhm.
And so my expectation is that it sounds to me like they are being responsive and are not just marching on without listening to people. So that's a good thing. I'm glad Greg reached out to you.
Right, but it should have been more public. I mean, this is because I emailed Greg specifically. You know, I
Well,
mean,
Yeah,
the
and
website is not up to date.
right.
And we're kind of in the dark. I'm trusting what Greg is telling me about the trees, but if you go on the Engage Kings website on both of the projects, the plans that are posted, every single tree is removed.
Mhm.
So I'm trusting Greg, but I think there needs to be more of a true public sharing and updating of information on the website, because, you know, I hope he's right.
Well, we'll give them that message, and they should keep everybody up to date. And as these things evolve, I'm confident that they will. Thank you. EJ, did you want to speak or not?
Oh,
Oh, yes, ma'am. Barbara, go ahead.
yeah. I think the council, there's several of us on the council that are concerned at the lack of community involvement. So I just want to say that your words and input from other residents are not lost on us. And it's a little emotional because I agree. We want to keep as much of Kingston, you know, and our bluestone and quality of life. So I really appreciate the deep research you've made, Lynn, and others who have sent their comments. So we are all really taking it to heart.
Thanks a lot, Barbara. Nice to hear that.
Okay, great. EJ.
Yes, so I actually use EJ to be gender neutral. My name is Elizabeth, that's what I go by.
Okay, all right.
So I have to first compliment Lynn. I met Lynn through this project, and unbelievably untiring dedication and research. We would not be where we are now, the Franklin Street Group, which is a group of property owners on Franklin who are extremely upset about this project. I represent them. Lynn is not on Franklin and has been giving us great support. So I just want to shout out to her. So I know I've been at y'all's meetings a couple of times. The current situation is that there is this resolution that is part of the process of the grant that needs to be approved by the council before funding can be given by DEC. Okay. We discovered that the type 2 action that is being recommended by the city engineer, we believe is not correct. And so there's a statement that was sent to all of the council people for the Monday meeting. I mean, the Tuesday meeting last week, but it was sent to the Common Caucus on Monday, and they started to review it, then went into executive session. So I don't know what happened, except that it was going to be presented as a resolution on Tuesday, and then that meeting was moved, and then that meeting was moved. So now it's going to be tomorrow night. So part of the issue is that the type 2 action doesn't require any environmental impact statements or studies or anything. And it was obvious in the 3 people who spoke at the Common Caucus, 2 of them were concerned because of our statement that we had presented, which I got some information from Lynn and some from another person who provided us with a lot of information. And the 3rd person said, well, we should believe what the city engineer says. So, and that we're not removing anything. And so that statement actually caused a lot of alarm in me, as it has with the other property owners here. Just to say one thing about facts, the right of way actually is from the center of the street, and it's 25 feet each side. So the 9 feet is really from the curb, but they're not moving the curb. But if they wanted to move the curb, it would be within that 25 feet. So I just wanted to say that. So we are trying to get the council tomorrow night to table that resolution and go back to law and rules and present them with enough information to have them question this type 2 action, which would then, because we believe it should be a type 1. There is a lot of environmental impact that's going to happen if you take down all of the trees on these 5 blocks and remove all these shrubs. Lynn has eloquently talked about that just previously. So that's where we are with the project. Now, in terms of the public involvement, I found out about the project through happenstance. There's no reason. No, I'm a new property owner. I moved in. It'll be a year and 2 weeks, and was very curious about it, wanted to be involved, and went to the website, was waiting for the open house. The open house was not publicized. There was a flyer that was put onto the doorknobs of all the people on the street by a citizen. The city only put out a flyer on like the parking signs. The open house was not well attended by the landlords who own, I would say, at least 30 to 40% of the property on between Wall and Broad, well, between Pine and Broadway. I don't know if they got noticed. I had a lot of conversation with Greg about this, and also with Steve. I had a phone call with Steve about this in October after the open house. And I got a lot of pushback saying, oh, we did notify property owners. Well, I'm a property owner and have never received a mailing. I was told only the landlords who didn't live on the street received me. I'm like, you know what, this is really ridiculous. You have our tax rolls. You could have, you know, so that was something that I was upset about. However, I went and knocked on doors. I gathered people who were interested, and we are now this group that is very concerned about the way the project is being is progressing. Going back to the Public Action Advisory Committee. So they did have a PAC set up. The project was approved in 2017, I think is when the grant originally, or 2019. The first PAC was 2019. And then there were 2 other meetings between March of 2019 and August of 2020. That's it. There's been no other public meetings for the PAC. And I had been asking for that. I asked the mayor. Greg has only been coming in. He has been very, very, very responsive. I want to just say that as well. There is a vague kind of indication on the website that there might be a public meeting, but it's actually about the open house. So they haven't promised us another public meeting for anybody or a PAC meeting. So again, what Lynn has said about the grants requirements, but not just that, as a property owner and the other property owners as well, we all feel very left out. We feel like the project has not been transparent since 2020. So that's almost 2 years ago. And we're asking for a public advisory committee meeting. There's a lot of pushback about what's going on. Okay, so that's where it all stands. Now, a broader picture. The city is doing a rezoning project. There's $500,000 is being spent to have this project done and the new code be presented and hopefully voted on next fall. Okay, so that is going to come out with a streetscape that I would bet you is very different than this project. The Dover and Cole walked through Midtown. I know Lynn spoke with them. I spoke with them. A lot of other people who are involved have spoke to them about this kind of a project and how it affects everybody and the trees and all that. So they are very aware of it. They, you know, could not give us an opinion because, you know, they were in the midst of figuring everything out. It'll be interesting to see. And I think the plan, the first draft is this month or the beginning of March. So it would be interesting to see what they would come up with for a streetscape, especially for Midtown. And, you know, Midtown is one of the poorest areas of the city overall. If you take all of the income, it's heavily rental. You've got a diverse population in terms of minority. And so we are saying we're going to affect these people in this way with these 2 streets, which may be adversely to the recommendation of the code that we're going to be getting, hopefully. The other thing I want to bring up is the millions of dollars of infrastructure money we're going to be getting, right? 15 million or something? I can't find the exact number. But Steve has mentioned this. He has big plans. Well, aren't sidewalks infrastructure? So if sidewalks are infrastructure, why are we even, you know, dealing with this grant right now? We don't have to. We have money coming in. The city doesn't need to rush into this project at this moment. We've got a code coming. Let's wait and see what the rezoning code is. I mean, why are we going to just railroad these two projects to rubber stamp these two streets, just like Broadway was, with a lot of opposition from the people who own the property and who live here and who are going to be daily impacted? Now, I did not get a letter about encroachment, but 2 feet of my yard is going to be removed and the sidewalk is going to come up to the very bottom of my front steps. Okay, yeah, so that may not sound so horrible, but there goes my public, there goes, I will have no private space. I will have people walking right. So again, it's not the end of the world. I don't have anything planted because I removed all of the weeds that were there. However, you know, this is impacting me. It's going to impact my public space in front of my house. So again, I'm not losing shrubs and fences and hedges and things that other people on the street are losing. However, if you've got property owners who are paying property taxes, who are in exact opposition of the plan that is in place, and you've got a zoning code coming down the road, why do we need to force this project? So that's
all right. Thank you. Thank you. Helen Atkinson, did you want to speak or not want to speak?
Sorry.
You're
Hi.
right.
No, I'm just really interested in what you're saying. Although I did perhaps want to make space, if there is time, to talk about the email exchange we had, I think in December, about this approach that was being taken in other cities in the country to get around the difficulty of enforcing the law about homeowners maintaining their sidewalks.
Yeah, we've talked about that. I mean, that is and as a matter of fact, that's in our old business. We'll talk about it there, and we
Great.
can
Okay.
follow up later.
Sure. Lovely. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great. Thank you all.
Bob, can I just say one quick thing? I did want to bring up the SID project, because that is also, it dovetails into all of this. If the city imposes this kind of restructuring of the street, again, I'm not against ADA compliant sidewalks. That needs to be done. I realize that. Then we as property owners, my understanding is that we would then be responsible for maintaining this. So then you're taking away trees, and then we're going to have to maintain trees that we don't want planted and all this. I mean, so this is all, I think, dovetails with the SID as well. So,
right. You know, bear in mind, you are property owners are responsible for maintaining the sidewalk in front of their properties.
I know, and I understand. And I'm gonna tell you something. I spent 8 hours chipping ice off of my bluestone sidewalks on Saturday and Sunday from the ice storm. And I'm going to tell you that on my block, on my side, I'm the only sidewalk that is clear. And I really hope those other people are getting tickets. I'm really pissed about this. But anyway, I will shut up now.
Okay. Okay, let me move on to item 3, review and approval of our minutes. The minutes were Greg distributed the minutes. I know it was late, but I read them. I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I move that we accept minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, a second. Any discussion? Any corrections?
They were Greg's usual fine job.
He does a great job with that. Now we're going to miss it too, now that we have this new form. But he promised to review the meeting recording, so we'll see where that goes. So I guess I would entertain all those in favor of approving the minutes.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstainers? Okay, they're approved unanimously. Old business. Let's move into old business. E-scooter and e-bike legislation. As you know, we made a suggestion to the mayor and about what to do about the e-scooter, e-bike legislation that the state passed that permits it. The only action that's really necessary from the city would be, unless they want to ban it, which we think is a terrible idea, legislation to govern a shared or rented system. And we did make a suggestion. I assume it's still under review. There's a new council, which would make sense to me that it should be under review by the new council. And we talked about a limited licensing program for rental e-bikes and e-scooters. So, you know, the details of that were in our prior minutes. So I would assume that once the council has had a chance to settle in and look at these things, we may hear more about it, and the Common Council may hear more about it as it goes forward, to see if they want to permit a shared or rented e-bike, e-scooter system in the city. I don't know if Emily, do you have anything more to say about that?
I had a sort of a clarifying question. Am I misremembering that the city would have to pass legislation to allow e-scooters and e-bikes on our rail trails? I think that was also part of the discussion, correct?
That is also part of the discussion, and
Okay.
John knows about that.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up again, that, you know, we did talk about that, and we would need the city to approve use on the rail trails and the parks and, you know, any other, you know, city-owned facilities other than the streets.
Yeah, non-public highways. Public highways, they're permitted on by state legislation, but private, like rail trails and parks, requires additional permission from the Common Council.
Can I
So-
just ask a question? Is there, within this proposal, is there a speed limit for e-scooters and e-bikes?
By definition, e-scooters and e-bikes are limited in speed. So, so there is not the legislation, the local legislation doesn't include that. The state legislation does.
Right.
The existing legislation that permits it does have a speed limit
Okay.
based on
You know-
the.
Do you know what that is? Does anybody know?
I think for type 1, there's 3 types of e-bikes and e-bikes. There's 3 types. There's 1, which is pedal assist. There's 2, which is pedal assist with a throttle. And there's 3, which is primarily a throttle. 3 is not permitted. I don't think 3 is permitted around. 1 and 2, I think the speed limit is 20 miles an hour.
Maximum speed limit.
Maximum, yes.
Well, that's still capable of breaking somebody's leg if they, I'm just thinking about, you know, there are a lot of news stories coming in, particularly from Europe, where these have become very popular. Paris and so on, somebody got killed a couple of months ago. If you get hit by a chunk of metal at 20 miles an hour and you're a pedestrian or a bicyclist, I don't know, I'm just a little concerned.
Bear in mind, you can go 20 miles an hour on a bicycle as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You can
Okay, fair enough.
still be just as injured.
Councilwoman Hill, yes. Yes, ma'am.
I'm concerned, you know, I see in some of the rail trails, it says no motorized vehicles, and a scooter is. So I'm concerned about that. I mean, I'm a bike rider for years. You know, they purposely make these things so that a larger electric vehicle can't go through there, but a scooter can scooch through there. I'm just concerned that it ruins the pedestrian bicycle ethic, you know, the bike friendly. I don't know. I'm not a fan of scooters. Let's just put it that way. I think it's ruined Asbury Park, New Jersey, one of my favorite places. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Well, when it goes to the council, you'll have because it will require to get them off, you know, to permit their use on rail trails and in parks will require action by the council. So
Lovely.
that'll be in your court to deal with when the time comes. Sidewalk Improvement District. Again, we submitted a suggestion to the mayor that the city consider establishing a sidewalk improvement district, which, as we all know, is not going to be pain-free. And I'm sure, again, he's talking to the council about it, deciding what to do about it. It's based kind of generally on the district that exists in Ithaca, and it requires, in essence, property owners to, in essence, enables the city to generate some income to take care of sidewalks and a mechanism to implement that. But that again lies with the mayor, and I'm sure he's talking to the council about it, or his corporation council about it, and we'll see what happens where that goes. It'll require a vote by the public. It'll require a referendum before it can happen. So there's a whole process associated with that. But I'm a believer. I'll speak for the council. We are believers that there should be some mechanism to fund and take care of our sidewalks, which desperately need work. Pedestrians are not well served by, and property owners are not well served by carrying the burden of taking care of and replacing and fixing sidewalks in front of their buildings. So that's where that's at, I believe, unless Emily knows any more. Okay. Traffic safety campaign. This Emily knows everything about. So can I ask you to chime in on that?
Absolutely. Don't get too excited, everybody. So we went through an RFP process to select a consultant for the traffic safety campaign, and we settled on Nikki Jones Agency. We're not in contract with them yet. I'm still working on the scope for our contract with them. I hope to go into contract soon. And then the goal is still to have the marketing campaign come out around early spring, around the time that cyclists and pedestrians start to use our streetscape and want, and drivers, so that all users can get educated on our new streetscapes. I don't have a whole lot else to say at this time, except that the project is moving along. I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you. Let me give a little background for those that are new to joining us. We pushed the, we initiated a request for a project for a traffic safety campaign because of the dramatic changes, not dramatic, because of the many changes that are happening to the street system in the city. The fact that we eliminated a number of signalized intersections and went with four-way stops, the fact that there was now a bikeway on Broadway, the fact that we have a new roundabout on Broadway and intersection improvements. We thought it was appropriate, and the Empire State Trail. We thought it was appropriate to remind people that how they should conduct themselves in the public right-of-way, in the complete street. And we thought that an education campaign is the first step in that adventure. And if you look at traditional highway safety work, education is the first step. Engineering, oh, actually, engineering is the first step to find out where the problems are. Education is the second step to help make people aware of what they should be doing. And enforcement is the last step. They've added a fourth now, which has to do with emergency response, but that's another ball of wax. So before we start enforcing things on our bikeways and on our new intersections, we believe that an education program would be the best first step, so people know how they're to conduct themselves in the public right of way. So that's how that came to be. And Emily will do a great job, and I'm sure we'll have a wonderful campaign, and everybody will adjust their driving habits and their bicycling habits so that our streets are safer. How's that?
I want to add that we're still clarifying the exact scope of the marketing campaign. So we specifically do want to address some infrastructure like on Broadway, but then maybe a general marketing. You mentioned the roundabout. I don't know if the marketing campaign will specifically talk to that project. I just want to clarify that.
My sense is that even if it doesn't specifically talk about these projects, raising awareness on traffic safety citywide is a good thing.
That was part of it. And also, I believe that we were looking for some kind of identifiable logo or icon that would be used on other projects to kind of link them together, even though it was well understood that the funding for this particular part of this particular project did not have the funds to cover everything. So it was hoped that down the line, it would be able to be scaled into other projects.
That's right. And speaking on behalf of the Transportation Council, we do have funds budgeted in our draft Unified Planning Work Program to support future efforts and add, if we need to do an ad buy or something of that nature. We're just looking to make some progress and headway before we identify how to allocate those resources. And also, speaking on behalf of the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board, they also are very interested in supporting and broadening this effort to a wider audience outside of Kingston for just a greater impact. So I'm on the Technical Advisory Committee, and will continue to push those 2 points along.
Brian and David are very excited this year because they actually get to do a tip update with new projects and everything because of the new infrastructure bill. This is a big deal. MPOs are going to be popular again, guys. You'll see.
Just waiting for those targets from the New York State Department of Transportation, Bob. And
I know.
they're supposed to come any day now, right?
I've said that myself in the past. Any day now, we're going to send that to you. Pedestrian and bicycle master plan. Again, Emily is the one.
That's me again. So we had a public meeting, I think it was January 18th. That recording is on the Engage Kingston website. It's also on the city's YouTube channel. It's there in English and in Spanish. We have interpreters. We're still in the public participation feedback phase. So please, if you have not already, please go to engagekingston.com, fill out the survey, and then we're calling it a crowdsourcing app. There is a mapping tool where you can put in information about your experience walking and biking in the city of Kingston. All of that information is going to be fed into the planning process. So I could say that we have, what I didn't say yet was that we have a consultant, Barton and LaJudas, that are helping this process. This is funded by the DEC. We have $60,000 that we are matching with city staff funds. That's a lot of my time and some of our partners. So that project is moving along well, and we're still in the public outreach phase. So please share. I have flyers that I can send to people to put up. There is a collection box at the Kingston Library. There's also flyers and posters at Rough Draft and what's the other place? Oh, the Kingston Standard Brewery down on Jansen Avenue. What else can I say about that? It's moving along. Any questions?
Because people that drink coffee and beer walk, or is that the deal? And ride bikes.
They're on our advisory committee, and they offered to put it up in their shops. You know, yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think there's great potential there, and you know, we have part of the first one thing that I say this for Councilwoman Hill's advantage. One of the things that will come from this is the creation of a Americans with Disability transition plan, which is something that is required of the city, which we have not done. And it is in essence a plan that talks about how we will bring our city into conformity with the Americans with Disabilities Act requirements for mobility, for people who have some mobility challenges. And we haven't done a great job with that. And if you look at our sidewalk system, you can see that there are places where mobility is an interesting challenge. My measure is always, why are people walking in the street? It's because it's too hard to walk on the sidewalk.
Or there is no sidewalk.
Or there is no. So that will come from this project, and that's a good step. And then we'll start to look at how do we continue to make our city accessible to everybody, which is a huge thing that we need to undertake. I'm going to skip project updates because Greg's not here, and he's the one that we dump that on always, and he does a great job of that. But I wouldn't want to burden anybody else with trying to fill in the gaps that only Greg would know, or Greg would know best. New business. I sent around, and for those of you that had a lot of free time, I'm sure you read it. Pete Buttigieg's U.S. DOT National Roadway Safety Strategy paper. And I understand if people have not had a chance to dive into it. It's about 40 pages. It's not the end of the world. It is, I read it, of course, because I do that kind of thing, read those things. It's a fascinating change in direction for highway safety. And I think it's important to think about it and to understand it. His view, in my opinion, it goes back somewhat to the shared responsibility elements of people who use the transportation system, and not putting all the burden on the owners of the transportation system. It's very interesting. And he gets into operational changes opposed to physical changes in the system to make it safer. He talks a lot about pedestrian crashes and the problems associated with that. And he talks a lot about speed. And speed is one of my personal obsessions. And this people not adhering to appropriate speed on the system and the damage that that can cause. And how do we control that? How do we make that? How do we help people understand that they should stay within the safe speeds, right? And the impacts that that has on people. So I commend it to you if you have not read it. I think it will be useful in as we go forward. And I know that Rennie Davis tells me the biggest complaint that he gets from his constituents is speed. People going too fast on highways, in city streets, and the impact to neighborhoods and quality of life and all the associated stuff with that. So I commend it to you. I think there will be money coming, and I think that Complete Streets is one way that that money can be spent on accomplishing his goals to make speed management better and to make the transportation system safer. So I think that's going to be an interesting change in, I think there'll be some opportunities there, to make it better. Yes, Councilwoman.
I have had this idea and I'll take it to the appropriate places, but I think we need like a campaign. And I was thinking, how about slow down Kingston? You know what I mean? I'm ready for t-shirts and whatever graphics. Okay, so
there may be
there you
opportunities. There may be
there you
opportunities.
have it. There you have it. Slow down Kingston. I think on all levels, speed, cars, like development, but we need more housing. Okay.
You remember?
Anyhow.
You do remember what Gracie Slick said, right?
What's
in
that?
In your head or in your car, speed kills.
Whoa, that's deep. Oh, I
Well,
love it.
She was a deep, she was very deep.
Definitely showing your page to start quoting Gracie Slick. I'm not gonna go there. Okay?
Yeah, but you got it. You got it. Gracie Slick in the airplane. Look her up. She's still alive, I believe.
We know. Well, some of us know. Some of us probably don't know Jefferson Airplane.
Well, we've got a perfect free solution to the speed problem, and that's just don't fix the potholes.
Right.
They're popping up like crazy right now.
We're going to have a tough season this year. It's going to be a tough
Yeah.
It's going to be a very bad season with the weather we've had.
You missed that, Claudette?
No, the potholes is going to be a very bad season with the.
Oh, I know. I was
yeah.
saying, do you miss that, having to deal with
Oh
potholes?
no. I don't miss it at all because you never fix them.
So, okay, I think that's our agenda. I don't know if the announcements.
EJ's got her hand up,
Oh, okay, yes.
or their hand up.
Elizabeth.
Yes, I just read an email now. I forgot. It was about the speed. Yes, that actually was one of the issues that several property owners that I spoke to are very concerned about with this project because of the parking. Is going to be one side and they're going to be two lanes. So it's going to be the odd side that's going to be parking in the middle two lanes. And they're concerned because right now with parking on both sides, it basically becomes a one-lane street, which is a dampening on the speed because you cannot pass two cars if there's two cars parked. So but right now, so there's a big concern about that. And that was brought up with Greg and also at the open house and also with Dover Cove. But that doesn't, they're seeming to say, well, we're going to do it this way. And I think a lot of the people, parents who have children, and especially in these 2 blocks from Clinton all the way to Wall, are very concerned that this is going to continue. This is going to increase the speeding issue. It is this issue already right now, even with the parking on both sides. So just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. That's yes.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, I think we need to encourage more messaging from the city regarding the snow removal from the sidewalks. There's walks that haven't been touched since that storm 3 weeks ago. And that includes several that the city's supposed to be clearing. If you go over to Schwenk Drive by the the parking lot where the Kingstonians proposed, that walk has not been cleared. And that's, city responsibility. The Fireman's Park at Washington Avenue and Hurley Avenue, that was only partially cleared. And I think the plaza is responsible for the sidewalk on the other side of the street. But pedestrians are walking in the street on Schwenk Drive because the sidewalks aren't clear. And that's, very dangerous road. People drive way too fast on that. And it, somehow or other, we need to get this messaging out. Yes, there was a lot of messaging about, alternate side of the street parking during the snow emergencies, blah, blah, blah. I don't recall seeing anything about clearing the sidewalks within 12 hours as per the city ordinances.
That might be something to add. Yeah, that might be something to add to the alternate side message to people. Make sure that your sidewalks are clear. It's your responsibility.
And, now with the ice on them, some of those are horrible. And another real bad place is on Washington Avenue is the Reese Insurance. They never clear that sidewalk. In all the years I've used Washington Avenue since the Reese building was built, it's never been cleared. And you've got the employees of the hotels, a lot of them are pedestrian transportation folks. And I've spoken with the sales director from the Best Western and the general manager of the Super 8. And, their staff is walking in the street there because they can't get around it. And you've also got the hotel guests that are trying to get to Uptown. They can't use that either.
It is surprising. It's surprising an insurance company who could get sued.
Yeah.
doesn't do it.
Yeah. This is, and there was a bunch of others too. I had, I think it was eight places between Quarry Street on Hurley Avenue and Lucas Avenue on Washington Avenue that the walks hadn't been touched for days. And in some cases, they still haven't been touched since that storm 3 weeks ago. And there's a lot of pedestrian transportation users in this area.
Let me make a suggestion. How about if I send a note to Summer about who's the communications person saying, why don't you add to your announcements about alternate street parking a note about cleaning about the responsibilities to get the snow off your sidewalks?
I think that's a good idea, Bob, and probably with that, they need to remind them that the snow is not to be put in the street.
Yeah.
Talking from a public works director.
Does more than transportation.
Yes.
And it goes to the intersections too, and the pedestrian crossings. A lot of those aren't cleared. They put those safe routes to school crossings on Hurley Avenue, but the snowbank between the crossing and the sidewalk is never cleared. So the kids are climbing up over the snowbank.
Yeah, I know when I was Public Works in New Haven, and we obviously had a lot of snow. I did have a crew, a limited crew that their whole purpose was to make sure that the intersections were passable, especially for pedestrians in the schools. It was very hard to keep it up, and I'm probably pretty sure that most PW departments don't probably have the staff that they need to do it as well as they should. That is why you really need to encourage the homeowners to do what they need to do. And in some cases, I've seen adopt an intersection, just like you adopt a street drain or whatever to try to keep it clean in your neighborhood. You could also possibly adopt an intersection or a school crossing intersection, because I'm pretty positive that department doesn't have the staffing to just address all of the intersections in Kingston.
I bet you're right. Yeah.
I know they gave out hundreds, if not thousands, of tickets regarding the alternate side of the street parking and so forth, but I don't know that they've done any enforcement efforts on this sidewalk clearing.
that's easy to do in many ways. You've got your cop, you've got your plow, and you've got the person going ahead. It's a little harder, and I speak from personal experience for 4 years as New Haven's Public Works Director. It's harder to get property owners, individuals to clean their street, to do what they need to do. Part of it is education, some of it is fining, but we just have to keep reminding them that that is their responsibility in front of their properties.
Maybe we need to raise the fines and publicize that too. I think it's $75 now.
First step is education. So,
Yeah.
so first let's get them educated, and then we can talk about it.
Tell them what
Carry a big stick too.
Tell them they got to do it.
they need to do.
I have a question or an observation. I live right next to the tennis courts on Lucas Avenue.
Yeah.
And that's one of the safe schools routes. When I first moved here, they made that sidewalk so kids could walk from Ward 1, you know, those neighborhoods, walk up Burhan's. They made it a one-way for safety. And I tell you, the guys are out there scraping that clean the minute a snowflake falls. I mean, it's crazy,
Yeah.
but nowhere. So I'm like, but where are the children? A lot of children don't even use it, but they're out there
Wow, that's
mowing,
that's a-
combing. I mean, so they must have a special dispensation from DPW or something to get out there right away. So that's curious to me.
Or it's considered school, whatever. I mean, from a PW point of view, you're not really too concerned who cleans it, as long as it gets clean.
And right.
Well, if you saw the lines of cars going up to like Edson and Bailey schools in the morning and afternoon with the, you know, the dropping the kids off and picking them up. I don't know if any of the kids walk anymore. There's, you know, there used to be a fair number that came by my house. And
Emily's kids walk uphill
Yeah.
both ways. Right.
yeah.
But
But,
to the point, they walk through the park. So we live on the other side of Lucas. They cross Lucas at that safe routes to school, and they go through the park up to Edson and Bailey.
Can I say something about the sidewalk thing? I know I mentioned it earlier. A couple of weeks ago, I think it was after the first snowstorm, a city produced, you know, like the trash thing where it tells you what you can, I mean, the recycling flyer that they give every year, it tells you what you can and can't put in recycling. One of those about the snow and removal and fines was put in my mailbox. Yes, exactly. So I mean, I got it at my house. So I'm assuming everybody else in the town got it, but maybe it didn't get to every residence. I don't know. But it's very clear that you're supposed to do that.
Right.
I just point out,
What happens is there's a cost to it, and like that's the thing, is like, will the council approve the whatever thousands of dollars it needs to do that? And so there needs to be advocacy or a push to do that, not to belabor it. I see Emily shaking her head up and down.
And
it costs $6,000,
To print that?
$3,000 for printing and production, and $3,000 for mailing
Yeah.
for the postage.
Right, but if you get a ticket, I'll tell you real quick. I'm sorry, just two policemen knocked on my door at 9 o'clock Saturday night about some other issue. It wasn't related to me. It was something in the neighborhood. And I said to them as they were leaving, I said, by the way, are y'all giving out tickets? And I said, I know you're busy with the storm, but is someone going to come? And this was Saturday night, definitely way after 12 hours after the storm was over. And I said, because, you know, I spent hours cleaning my sidewalk and nobody else on this side has done theirs. And they kind of laughed and said, yeah, right, we'll get to it when we can. So, I mean, you know, I was kind of a joking thing, but I kind of was curious.
Well, I have a question. Is that the police officer's responsibility here? Because in other cities, there usually is another department that does enforcement that can issue the ticket. It's not a police officer.
right. I think it's
according
public.
to the mayor, there's a compliance.
Right, okay,
group in the DPW that's going out.
okay,
I don't know if they're doing anything but the car parking up.
yeah.
You know, Yeah, having Summer, sending a note, just having Summer put it on the announcements about alternate side doesn't cost anything. So that we might be able to get done. So that's a good thing. Announcements, anything else? Any other announcements, communications, events, updates? No.
I can add a couple quick announcements. Sorry, my video's off. My camera was acting strange with the variable light. Let's see. The Ulster County Traffic Safety Board has reconvened after about a year-long hiatus. And my approval as coordinator went through at the end of 2021. So as the coordinator, right now my focus has been on getting the appointments figured out at pretty much during the year that the board was on hiatus. Every single appointment lapsed. So we're getting all the appointees up to date, and Chief Tinty is the City of Kingston's representative on the Traffic Safety Board. The Safety Board is essentially an advocacy organization for transportation safety, and the focus is, as Bob mentioned earlier, on the 3 E's of enforcement, engineering, and education. So I'm looking forward to preparing essentially a work plan for the Traffic Safety Board to help guide our activities going forward. It may take some time. I'm only going to be able to provide about, I don't know, 5 to 10% of my time towards the coordination position. But everyone should know that the board is now active. We have a page on the Ulster County government website. There is contact information on there. Our meetings are typically held on the first Monday of every month. We did not have a meeting in February. Luckily, because anyway, I wouldn't have made it anyway because of the weather. But we will have a meeting on March 7th. And I'll get agendas posted on the webpage as well. So we also did put out a public notice or a press release regarding the issue of plowing snow across roadways. It's a section of vehicle and traffic law, as Claudette noted, and it is illegal to stockpile or move snow across roadways. We issued the press release. It didn't give wide circulation. We'll continue to do these types of press releases on any general transportation safety message that we feel is important to get out. So if you have ideas on important messages, again, our audience and range is not great. I'm a little disappointed that, try my video again. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't see our press release picked up by any of the newspapers, and I actually had some difficulty getting the county executive's office to take note of it as well. But we're going to continue to do that. So it's hopefully a growing opportunity to get our message out there, not only in Kingston, but across Ulster County. And last, the only other announcement that I can think of is we just did a brief email blast from the Transportation Council the other day with a few items of note. I put the safety strategy that Bob sent around. That's great. Thank you for sending that, Bob. It is a great document. I'm digging into it as well. There's also a newly released guidebook on the IIJA, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, what's now called the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Or bill for short, which is a little confusing because it's a law, it's not a bill. But it's a 400-page document. It's a guide to the federal aid process and the resources that are available through that process. Typically, if you have a question, you can reach out to Dave, me, or Dennis at any point in time, and we'll walk you through that federal aid process. And the City of Kingston staff does that already, as well as other municipalities. But I actually haven't had time to dig into that document, but it is out there and it is available for municipalities. I think that's everything from the Transportation Council. Thanks.
No, thank you, Brian. It's always fascinating stuff. I'm not going to read the process document. I don't care.
Yeah, you could have written the process document, Bob.
Oh. All right, on that note, I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, Emily, yes.
It's just a fast one.
Oh, sure.
So Kristen mentioned the grant that she's managing, the Creating Healthy Schools and Community Grants, which does physical activity. I just want to mention that within that work, we'll soon be releasing an RFP for landscape planning at Broadway and Grand. So
great.
when that's published, we'll send that out, and please encourage especially any MWBE organizations that could do that work. We need to satisfy grant requirements for women. I forget women, minority-owned businesses to do that work.
That's is that state money? That's not federal money.
State money.
Okay,
It's the State Department of Health, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
great. That'd be great. I do miss the chicken place, but I think that'd be great. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
I'm the sharper chainsaws.
Right.